Call Me Joe, Part 1. A Vampire's First Christmas. I have to admit, as a loner, I'm a failure. I find myself doing odd things. Odd even for my kind. You see, I'm a vampire. And this is the tale of my first Christmas. Okay, so if you have to get technical about it, it's not my first Christmas. I have vague memories of a winter holiday, way back when I had a pulse, could look at the sun, enjoy garlic bread, so on and so forth. But after a century or so of shadowed nights, bloody meals, and dancing with the darkest parts of life and unlife, a great number of things from your old times kind of fade. They become marked only by occasional seasonal oddities. Twinkling lights, indoor trees, a jolly old man in red, and something about fig pudding. Is that a thing? I'm still trying to figure that one out. I suppose I should point out I don't speak of these holidays, I'm learning more and more of them, frivolously or to be disparaging. It's more just that immortality strips one of family and friends. Feeding on human blood tends to force one to adapt to thinking of people as dinner rather than, well, people. The fact that most religious icons burn to look upon, let alone touch, well, yes, it makes one disregard celebrations of all those things. Oh, for Chiropteran's sake, how rude of me. All that and I haven't even introduced myself. I am Joseph Albert Francis Leopold Michael Sylvester Peter Norbert Aloysius Lulu Eric Jedediah. You know what? Just call me Joe. We vampires have a bad tendency to collect things over the years. It kills boredom. And names are so easy and useful. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, my Christmas. Well, at the risk of repeating myself, I'm a failure as a loner. Vampires are famous, almost infamous, for their ability to go full loner at the drop of a cape. It's mostly a survival thing, I think. Too many vampires together and you start finding bloodless bodies all over the place. And then it's just a hop, skip, and a pitchfork away from angry mobs, sharp wood, and then that final sunbath. Although lately I've heard of consenting humans, vampires with self-control, not sure which of those is weirder to me, and something called raving or clubbing, which have got to mean different things today than they did back in my time. Otherwise, there's some really freaky people out there. In any case, it was one of my decades-long slumps. Times where being immortal, powerfully and terrifying creature of the night and blood just gets lonely. Yes, I said it. Not boring, not dull. It gets lonely. During these times, I spend a lot of time doing weird things. I once cross-stitched little costumes and dressed every rat I saw as members of the royal courts of Europe. Another time I took up woodworking, which is why half my lair is covered in carvings of deer, ducks, rabbits, and any other animal I could find a picture to work with. Yes, I have a lair, the stereotypes never end. Then, of course, came the I want to learn language years, which is a lot easier when you've got just years and years to learn each one. Then there was this cross-stitch time, the time of learning how to build and maintain my own hot rod. I call it the Comet. The time that I learned to do the same for my own PC. Yeah, I don't know which cost me more per year, but, investments have their payoffs. And that led to my current on and off gaming obsession. It also led to my discovery of this internet thing and the great deal of people talking about everything and nothing, really. But buried in that mass of what is otherwise inane chatter, I began over the years to be reminded of holidays. Times of year when people get together and celebrate, acting out old traditions and starting new ones, enjoying just being together. To paraphrase a rather charming clay motion picture I have now seen, what's this? What's this? For someone who was, at that time, keeping company only with rats dressed as the cast of Grease, I'm fond of sewing and they like it. Okay, focus on the holly jolly. The idea of a bunch of people just gathering and being happy and, wow, I mean, what a rush, right? I tried to remember the last time I felt something like that. The closest would have been when I accidentally got pulled into a group of people in boosty ears and shiny clothing and spent the evening watching a musical motion picture. I thought it was rather good, if a bit odd, but the rest of the audience seemed upset with it, calling out things like bitch or wanker at the main characters, and they even threw toilet paper at the screen at one point. I highly recommend you see it if you can, although the name escapes me just now. Rock Picture Horror? Sorry, I ramble sometimes. Loneliness does that. In any event, these holiday things just called to me. And the problem was, there were so many of them. And some of them, well, I mean, like Independence Day is probably great no matter what country it's for, but it also involves a lot of fire. Best not to risk. Halloween? Well, for me, that just feels like a company picnic or a corporate retreat. You see all familiar faces hanging out and getting plastered. Thanksgiving is fine, I'm just not huge on turkey. St. Patrick's Day sounded good, but I know a few leprechauns who I'm on the bad side of, so might not try that one just yet. But one holiday seemed to loom above all others. A time spoken of in highest praise for its meaning, its imagery, its spirit, and condemned for forgetting its meaning, imagery, and spirit. Christmas. Yes, the more I read, the more fascinated I became. A time of joy and family, depression and being alone, giving gifts to loved ones, demanding expensive gifts, and that didn't even touch on the fact that it celebrated the birth of Jesus, and all that the own firestorm of debates and discussions. Amazing. Needless to say, I quickly delved into this new world I'd found. My dim, depressing lair now was covered in twinkly lights, dancing Santas and snowmen, tinsel and ornaments strung around a thick pine tree, cutouts of sleighs and reindeer and snowflakes all over the place. The lady at the checkout counter was just more than happy to help when I said it was my first Christmas. The TV played Christmas specials while I read up on traditions online. All around the world, such lights, such joy, so many people all getting together. And here I sat, alone, save for Santa Rat and his 18 tiny rain rats. I went a little overboard. Once more, sitting on the outside, looking in. Something had to change. Something had to be done. Something drastic. Drastic measures for the Christmas season. I scrolled through the various emergency recipes for more guests, the how to wrap presents in minutes tutorial, save that one for later, and handcrafted doilies that I cared to count. It was good stuff, and I'd try that baking thing later, but it wasn't feeling complete. How do I describe it? I wanted people. not in the way I usually wanted them either. Could it be that simple? My fingers went to the keyboard and I typed out meeting people during the Christmas season. Processing, host a party. Nix that. Attend a party. Ha! Join a flash mob. Okay, now you're just making up words. Help at your local shelter or soup kitchen. Hello? What have we here? Shelter, kitchen, a couple more keystrokes. Oh dear. Shelters meant places homeless humans went for warmth and sometimes treatments of problems that arise from their situation. Well, let's just say that the vampiric community have a different name for that. Easy hunting. I'll save you the gory details, but mostly vampires haunt these shelters when they need an easy meal. No, I'm not proud of that. Yes, feel free to judge us. Shadows know I do. Suffice to say, that felt like too much of a temptation. So what's a soup kitchen? A place for the hungry to be fed no matter their financial situation. Food donated by good-hearted souls and companies that want a tax write-off. I do believe we have a winner, Mr. Claus. I smiled over at the rat, currently pulling up his little white beard to take a nibble from an old cracker. I'm off to meet people. Okay. So, I probably should have read a bit longer on that whole soup kitchen thing. See, some are independent, but many are run by churches. And in most of those cases, attached to a church. You see what I'm getting at? So there I stood, in my best don't notice me outfit, consisting of a gray sweater, dark blue jeans, old boots, and a lovely black windbreaker with crimson lining, with the toes of my boots almost but not quite touching the threshold of the back door to the soup kitchen. Now I know what you're thinking. Invitation, right? Enter by your own free will. Well, no problem there. I mean, there's welcome signs all over the place, warm meals inside. I am not thinking about that. So basically, I've got carte blanche to just enter this holy ground, or consecrated, or at the very least blessed, right? I mean, there's a church right there. I can see a priest opening the front doors to get some fresh air. Are my feet burning, or is it my imagination? Am I smoking? I should leave. Hey man, you alright? I'm not proud to say I damn near batted out and flew away. The fellow carrying the box of what appeared to be oddly shaped vegetables hadn't exactly snuck up on me, but I'd been way too distracted. Hi, yes, I'm fine, I squeaked. I cleared my throat and tried again. Sorry, yes, I am. That is, I was here. I had heard. Oh, you're one of the new volunteers. He shifted the box under one arm and took my hand in a firm grip as he shook it. I'm Harold. Come on in, don't be shy. Got plenty of work and many hands make light labor. I'd say he led me inside, but it felt more like he picked me up and carried me in. I tensed to burst into flames or turn to dust or something. Interesting. No reaction. Could it be that this was a loophole? That if I'm here on good intentions, And then he put me on the ground and I immediately broke into a sweat. Never mind. Uncomfortable. Oh wow. Oh yikes. Not burning, but ooh boy. But uncomfortable is practically a default feeling for me. Heck, it's barely worse than having to explain to the cable company why they had to show up after sundown. You can do this, Joe. You can do this. Yeah, that sun heat breaks the sweat, don't it? Harold chuckled. Go on and hang your coat over there. We'll get you an apron and a hairnet. They Want me to go hunting hares? I mean, I guess a good jugged hare is a nice warm taste on a winter day. And then I saw him put the net over his own head. Oh, hair. Hair on your head. I'm guessing to keep it out of the food. I followed suit and suddenly found myself in a whirlwind of activity. People were chopping vegetables, seasoning pots, and checking meat in ovens. Some were carving and putting the food into trays, brewing hot drinks and putting cans of cold ones into fridges. Into pantries, out of pantries, in the freezer, out the freezer. My gods, it was like a beautiful madcap ballet. You do much cooking? Harold asked, not unkindly. Not so much, no. If that's a problem, I can leave. Harold just grinned. Bless your heart, not a problem unless you have a solution. And I got a solution to 2 problems. He guided me out of the kitchen and into what must have been the serving area, where all the trays in the back were brought in, empty ones removed, and food and drink handed out to the various multitudes lined up for the simple pleasure of sustenance. It stirred something inside me, a feeling I couldn't quite name. I know, it's kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? The voice in my ear wasn't Harold's warm boom, and my head swiveled around to blink at the woman standing there. She was older, with gray-streaked hair, thick glasses over blue eyes, and the kind of lines on her face that came from years of smiling. Around her neck was a little 6-pointed star necklace. Call me Rose, sweetie. Joe. Pleasure to meet you. Oh, so polite. Look at you, little gentleman. Come on. She actually pinched my cheek before leading me into the serving area proper. You're a godsend. If you could just ladle out the potatoes and a little gravy, I'll take care of the veggies, and Mary over there will handle the turkey or ham, whichever they want. Mary? I looked over to the lady on my right of me, and... Okay. I want to talk stereotypes with you kind people. Now, vampires get a lot of flack regarding relationships. Mostly the stuff you hear of, I've followed your soul through eternity, join me in eternal bliss, yada yada yada. And it always starts with a vampire being utterly entranced by a woman he's stalking in all her beauty. Suffice to say, for most of my unlife, I figured that's horse pocky. Then I met Mary. She was a little taller than me. Okay, she was taller than me. Enough that I had to crane my head back to look up into her face that, for a brief moment, seemed haloed in the fluorescent light behind her, painting her warm brown hair full of light touches, same light spiraling in the maple brown eyes. When she smiled back at me, it felt like it pressed that burning sensation further away. Hello there. Yep, that voice was as sweet and gentle as a breeze through a honeysuckle field. Hi. Yep, again. I sounded like a donkey talking to a songbird. I'm Mary. It's so nice to meet you. We always get a little swamped this time of year, so we appreciate the help. Hi. Name, stupid. Say your name. Joe. And I like helping you, here, being here, helping you, all. Sadly, the part of my upper mental capacity will be played by a boiled cabbage, apparently. I'd say I don't know what was wrong with me, but who would I be kidding? It's the lady. She was nice and pretty and had soft hair and smelled good, and you know what? You can't blame me. There's not much to say about my first evening in the serving line. I got a bit enthusiastic at first, and things might have got a bit splattery. I think the one guy who wanted to punch me just because I got a little gravy on his boots overreacted entirely. Thank goodness for Mary and Rose, who apparently knew the gent. Mary said it was an accident, which it was, but when I said it, it didn't have the same impact of her saying it. And then Rose jumped in, asking what he was doing, making the scene. So it's gravy, get a napkin, wipe it off. Why are you holding up the line? Don't you dare not eat your vegetables. She's watching you. Fellow went from angry giant to scolded child in 2 minutes flat. And a quick lesson in proper proportions and pouring techniques, and I was good to go. For the most part. See, I realized there was a distinct difference in how people reacted to my fellow servers and to myself. Rose, for example, talked to everyone in line like they were family or an old friend, calling everyone bulbula, gossiping about family and her health and her husband, etc. And in response, they gossiped back. Mary, well, when Mary talked to you, you felt blessed. And everyone who came before her got a compliment and a rosy feeling with their meat. Moi? Well, they held up the plate, but they were watching me. I don't know if it was some instinct near a predator, or maybe they just learned not to trust someone who looked and acted like I did. Which, yeah, I'd love to say meant a dark and brooding presence. But considering I kept sweating and occasionally wincing from the heat from the floor, they might have just been wondering why they were trusting someone who looked as sick as I did around the food. When the line finally died down and people were happily eating, I volunteered to help wash dishes. I must have looked a fright because Harold took one look at me and shook his head. Why don't you take a break and get some fresh air? Looks like you're about to drop where you stand. I nodded and hurried outside, grabbing my windbreaker in passing. Oh, sweet relief. The instant I was off the tile of the floor, the persistent heating faded. The burning on the bottom of my feet vanished. I took a seat on a bench and leaned my head back, letting my eyes close to savor the utter freezing cold against my body. The bench creaked softly, and I opened my eye to see who... Mary. She seemed to be trying to make herself look smaller, everything tucked tight to her body in a puffy white jacket. She smiled softly at me. I saw you look bothered. I thought you might like this. She handed me a water bottle, still frosty from the fridge. I was quite touched, actually. Water wasn't quite what I was craving right then, but hey, it cooled the leftover bless burn, as I called it. So, where are you from? She asked after I had half the bottle gone. What? Oh, I'm from around, well, not here, more that way, a couple of blocks. Then hidden away in a nice dark basement of an apparently abandoned warehouse, funded through several small shell companies. Keeps things nice and cozy. For me, anyway. How about you? Oh, yeah, around here. I live with my father, though Mother visits often. That's good. If it's not too awkward. Oh, no, not a divorce. Just a long and complicated story. She blushed in a way that made every part of me, from my fangs to the shriveled bottom of my soul, squeal. My goodness. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. No, she assured me with a musical laugh. I mean, I've told everyone else the same story. I'm always afraid to, what do they say, overshare? I nodded. You are a very quiet man. Sorry, I'm not very used to people. Trying to teach myself to be, social, I think they call it. I kept turning the bottle over in my hands, flicking my eyes from it to her and back again. Well, you seem to be doing well so far. She beamed, and part of me did backflips. You are too kind. Far too kind, some people might say. I let myself smile a bit. Well, you came all the way out here, and you volunteered for hours. You've talked with Rose, and with me, and Harold. For someone not good with people, you're on a roll. I gave a chuckle. Sure. Now I just have to go home, wrap myself in a big fluffy blanket, and watch Christmas movies until I get all my courage back. Maybe pet my rats. Oh, you have pets? She was leaning in now. Why did she have to smell so nice? Yes, you could call them that. I feel that they run the show more than I do sometimes, but... She giggled and I felt all tingly inside. Do they, need us back inside? I hated to break up our time together, but if they were waiting... Oh, no. We're actually closing up for the night. But we'll be here tomorrow evening. If, you wanted to come back. A wise vampire would politely decline, would leave, and never set a smoking foot back on the blessed stones of this place. Absolutely. Wonderful! And she hugged me. That whole tingly warmth inside thing went up about 3,000 degrees for a brief moment of contact. Then she let go and everything was cold again. I can't wait. Oh, that's my ride. See you tomorrow, Joe. She waved and half-hurried, half-skipped to an SUV that pulled up. Oh, do you need a ride? I was still a bit cotton-headed. No, I'm good. I could use the exercise. I waited until they pulled away to take bat form and fly off into the night. A quick stop at a second-hand provider of nutritionally delicious blood. Oh, calm down. She sells blood bank stuff that's about to expire. And I was home, nursing a half a pint mixed with ginger ale. I like the bubbles. And petting Rudolph the red-nosed rat. I didn't even do that one. I came home to it. I think they're getting smarter and more adorable. While I mulled over everything that had happened today, it was crazy, insane, just absurd. A vampire working at a soup kitchen? Madness. So, why did I feel so good about it? Could it be because I did something nice for someone else? And what was this thing with Mary? I mean, I'm around humans sometimes. I never felt anything like this before. Maybe it's... Could it be? It couldn't be. But it might. What if it's... I looked down at Rudolph as he popped half a cherry in his mouth. I keep food around for them and to spice up my diet. Fruit is great. Veggies, not so bad. Fish is surprisingly appealing. And finally said what was on my mind. I think I might be in love. The nearest rats gasped in unison, some putting paws to their foreheads in a full-blown faint, one of them gripping his little chest and squeaking something that sounded like, "It's the big un!" Thank you. Your support is touching. Yes, I sulked, even though they all came over and nuzzled me. Okay, so I didn't sulk that long. The next week became clockwork. I'd get up at sunset, clean up, head to the soup kitchen, smile through my suffering. The burning never stopped, though it would ease at times. Don't ask me why, I'm no theologist. Then would sit outside with Mary and talk for a while until she got picked up. Apparently by her father. She introduced me once. I will never forget that glare. I'd grab dinner and head home and spend the whole time wondering what Mary was doing. Yes, it was pathetic. It only took a couple of days for me to take "I might" out of the equation and admit I was falling in love with her. Which, yay and all, but she looks like grace and beauty defined. I look like a scarecrow someone dressed in black and let loose into the world. She'd never go for a guy like me. Right? I mean, I guess you never know until you ask. How many times did you used to see glorious ladies with the strangest of gents, only to find out it was because the strange one had the guts to ask her? Days and days went by, and I told her more and more about myself, learning little bits about her as well. She loves burgers and pizza, but not a fan of garlic. Squeal of glee. She loves animals, fond of romantic movies and comedies, not a huge fan of horror, but willing to give it a shot if she doesn't mind me hiding her face in my shoulder the whole time. Don't mind at all. I talked about my sewing, my pets, that I don't have family anywhere, so on and so forth. I could ask her out. I should ask her out. I want to ask her out. I always chicken out. One night, after serving up just gallons of chili with cornbread, I sat outside with Mary. We were bundled up from the snow that started falling earlier, she because she needed it, and I because of the look of things, and we were discussing plans for Christmas this year. I, of course, had no real plans past more specials and movies, maybe making an attempt at baking gingerbread. I have recipes and grim determination. While she talked about getting together with her family, opening presents, drinking eggnog, singing carols. It all sounds lovely. Of course, her father's car comes pulling up. I waited for her to hop up and head for the vehicle as usual, but she didn't. In fact, she seemed to be debating something. Finally, she looked me dead in the eyes and spoke a bit breathlessly. "Hey, would you be interested in having lunch with me Christmas Eve and maybe coming to our Christmas Eve party?" I blinked and blinked again. "I'm sorry, I know that's really too sudden. I'd love to. Yes, what time?" The words leapt out of my mouth before I could even think about anything other than, "Say yes or I will stake you myself!" The way her face shone when I said that meant it was the right thing. So did the huge hug I got. "Oh my God, I'm so glad. I thought you'd think I was a total weirdo. Do you know Tony and Todd's?" "I think so. That's the place with the candy store attached, right?" She nodded happily. "Meet you there, say, 5 o'clock? Our party's not until later, and I prefer a late lunch. Kiss me now." I didn't say that out loud. "Sounds great." So, I couldn't find any other words, so I grabbed time in my head. It was the 23rd, so tomorrow, Tony and Todd's, 5 o'clock. I got another hug, and she all but skipped to the SUV. I sat there for a few moments. What just happened? "You two got a date, and it's about time, too." Okay, yes, I fell off the bench. Rose and Harold were there, grinning like cats who just figured out the lock on the fish chest. "And about time, too. I thought I was going to have to fake a heart attack to get you two together." "Oh, Rosie, be nice. Boy's just a little shy." Shy. You should have seen my Saul. That man was shy." She chuckled and patted my chin. "You go get her, handsome. You two are so cute together." She pulled her long coat closer. "Well, Harold the angel dear here is going to drop me off at my daughter's place before heading home to his handsome hubby. You want to ride, kiddo? Or you going to do that disappear into the night thing you're so good at?" I thought about it. And suddenly, I felt that this was a good time to fail at being a loner again. "I wouldn't mind getting a ride if you've got room." "Room? Buddy, my baby can handle a stroller, a baby bag, full-size playpen, and 2 dogs. I think we can fit you in with the 2 of us." Harold clapped me on the shoulder and nearly dropped me into the snow. I followed them to the large van that was apparently Harold's baby, pausing only to look up at the stars above and smile. I had a date. Kinda felt like my first Christmas present. Call Me Joe, Part 1.